Welcome to the Alpha Room, where we bring you all things crypto, culture, Web3, and education. Join us tonight with Pay Up Hollywood's director, Devin Teer.
Well, we might as well get to the guest of honor. Say hello to Devin. And I feel like our resident movie reviewer on the Alpha Room, the head of the movie department, Switch, he'll probably have to start off with the questions. Myself and Knox are not as experienced, but we did watch. And yeah, I have some opinions. I enjoyed it. Yeah. So, Devin, how are you tonight?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for asking. It's a great first day of June. We got a lot of stuff coming up this month.
Yeah.
Um, so very excited. It's a great day.
It is my timeline filled with pride flags and Devon. So it's been a great start to June, and yeah, listen, I'm looking forward to this. You're in the hot seat a little bit because I feel like Switch. He's a tough critic. I mean, I sat across from Switch at a taco restaurant, and we had a whole food review of how I ate the food. So I hope you're ready, Devon.
Oh,
well,
Yeah,
I've
I'm
got
uh,
questions too.
yeah.
well,
Oh
I'm
boy.
ready. I got answers.
All right, Switch. Let's start.
I think, Devin, the first parallel that I would draw is it does have a lot of elements of The Office and Parks and Recreation type of filming. Where there's a cameraman filming everything within an office, and no one really knows why. It just works. Was
Mhm.
that the inspiration for this, and was that your decision, or was that the writers?
Um, That's a good question. It was kind of a combination of the two. So we knew going into it that we had kind of a limited budget, and then given the circumstances of the show, it's the behind the scenes of the production assistants filming a soap opera. So when we discussed it, we thought that that would be one of the easiest ways that we could capture it with the tools that we had. So it was kind of just a beautiful lineup. And I was really influenced from The Office and Parks and Rec. That comedy always stuck out to me and always made me laugh. So um, when we discussed the options of how to do it, I was perfectly aligned with how they saw it being portrayed in that mockumentary style.
Knox, you have a question?
Yeah. So mine goes kind of along with that. I was noticing that it did have a lot of parallels in the switching back and forth. Two questions that I had right off the bat was the one, we know that they were supposed to be filming kind of like a behind the scenes of this behind the scenes thing. And so there was a couple points where I did see some cameramen that were visible. Were they supposed to be there, or was because I noticed that a little bit later we kind of saw less of the cameraman and less of the boomstick.
Yeah, so they're definitely supposed to be there. That's one of the reasons we decided to shoot it that way is because we were in such a tight space with limited time that the in the beginning you see them more because we show more of them on set of The Darkest Hour, which is the soap opera. So typically when you're seeing the cameraman, usually it was during the point where we cut out of that soap opera filming and into the actual show, which is what we're capturing, which is the production assistants working on that show. And then we kind of filmed it this way also to be able to cheat the fact that you may see the boom operator or another camera operator during the filming because they're just there capturing the production assistants and kind of the chaos that's ensuing um, around the production of that show.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of figured that, but I just wanted to make sure. And then there was another thing that I noticed too, as far as camera movements go. Sometimes during the interview segments when you were doing just the one-on-one, kind of like how they did in the office with the blinds in the background, but you guys did that. I noticed that some seemed to be kind of still set, like it seemed like it was mounted on something, and some there was a little bit of a movement that was going with that, and I saw a little bit more movement too. Was that supposed to be done, or was it supposed to also reflect that?
Um, you know, I don't necessarily know that that was as intentional as it came across. I think a lot of the times, if the camera was more still, it's because whatever we were filming prior to doing the interview, we had the camera on a tripod. And then other times we may have just been capturing that one-off interview in between setups for the next thing. So then it was more handheld.
Okay. Yeah, because I was noticing that because I know that with some psychology stuff as far as like film work goes and whatnot, to kind of like moving during the actual screen versus just the still tends to do dopamine and people tend to follow it. Like kind of like the same thing that they did with Cocomelon where it's like constantly moving. It kind of like turns like to crack for the brain. So I didn't know if that was something that was done or if it was like you said, just in between things where you had it and you were just trying to do it quick because you guys were crunched.
Yeah. If anything, it was happy accidents or unhappy mistakes, but we had to roll with the punches. We shot everything you're seeing was filmed over 5 days total. I was on set for around 12 hours a day, but we were only filming for 8 hours, so the actors were only on set for the 8 hour window. So we were really crunched for time, and we had a ton of setups. Um,
That's insane because like it was so well done that I can't believe that you guys actually did that in 5 days.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, it was 5 days with a roughly a $25,000 budget. So really, really shoestring budget. Um, really short on time, but we try to cram as much as we could in there. And obviously, when I look at it now, I see all the things that I wish we could have done differently. Like I wish we would have shot some of the soap opera scenes a little differently to give it a more obvious feel that that is kind of separate from the show, but at the same time, like I was aware on set what we were dealing with. So
I think it
um,
comes across pretty well in the show, Devin, where you can differentiate what's the show and what's the show within the show. It's pretty easy to distinguish that. I felt, maybe a tad confusing in the first episode until you get the feel for what's going on. But I wanted to
mhm.
now, did you have a hand in the casting? I know in one of the interviews after the show, the writers, Matt and Sierra, mentioned that they had written a lot of the parts already for friends of theirs that were actors. They kind of had actors in mind while writing. Did you have to take part in any of the casting, or was that pretty much taken care of?
I had a little role in casting, but to be honest, that they we would we never did self tapes. They would just send me because a lot of the people in there are already kind of social media. Um, I don't want to say actors, but they have large social media followings and they're often doing skits. So they would send me a couple options. The two biggest roles that I kind of had a hand in with anything would be Viper and Eddie, who plays Billy. Um, those
How
were
did
like
you
the
find
two.
Viper? I'm curious about that because she's an interesting character.
Um, well, they sent me her social media profile, and I just thought she was hilarious. But Matt and Sierra had actually worked with Jahan, who plays the soap opera director in the show. And he's really connected to a lot of those people because I think he at one point he had like 6 or 7 million followers on Instagram and was constantly doing like YouTube skits. And Matt had helped him in the writing of a lot of those skits. So that's kind of how we pulled a lot of the talent together. And then with this shoestring budget, we had to find people that wanted to work with us. And Matt had told them about our experience on Kill or Be Killed together because Matt helped me as a creative producer to kind of when I was on set of Kill or Be Killed, I produced that one, directed and acted in it, and I kind of just stretched myself a little too thin, and I needed someone on set that I had worked with in the past and had a layer of trust to tell me like if I was performing poorly in Kill or Be Killed or if we were missing anything. So he got to see me behind the scenes in the director role, which was a little different for us, and so we just had built up Matt and I a layer of trust prior to Pay Up Hollywood.
I don't know that I'd call this a vanity project, because often when people who write a show and then act in it, out of necessity, oftentimes. But I think you were lucky in this production because both Matt and Sierra not only are good writers, but they delivered two of the better performances. I felt they were very good actors. They played really good characters. So I just feel, a lot of times when you watch what's quote unquote a vanity project, the acting is really lackluster because the person kind of either is forced to act because of budget constraints or wants to be the actor because they're so passionate about the project, although maybe they don't really possess the talent they think they do. How did you feel about those two actors in the show?
I thought they did a phenomenal job. You know, Sierra's been acting for a good amount of time now. She actually has a lot of productions that are on Tubi. She's based out of Michigan now, and they're doing a lot. And then Matt's background is a little more on the writing side, although he had been pursuing acting for some time. And those are technically I did have a part in the casting of them, less with Sierra, but Matt was very open to like if we could find someone to play the Josh character uh, better than what we thought he could, then he was open to putting someone else in there. But when I looked back and I that's one that we did see tapes for. I just thought Matt knocked it out, and they're very selfless on set. So they weren't like it's very interesting because you're right. When it's a vanity project, they might try to control, but they when we were on set, they gave a lot of the direction to me. They really didn't stand in the way of any of the ideas. And I'm a very collaborative director, so if we saw something, I was susceptible to any ideas anyone had. But for the most part, um, they just let me free reign the directing and kind of come up with the choreography. And I would only consult with them if I was wanting to change something in the script or kind of maneuver things a little differently. Um, yeah, I thought they did a fantastic job. Josh is one of my favorite characters, to be honest. Josh and Sierra both. But
Yeah. Well,
I find Matt hilarious.
I had a feeling you'd say Sierra. I think that was everybody's favorite character. Very good actress, played a very good part. And, I was wondering if any of this was based on maybe not a true story, but based on real events or anything like that happens often in Hollywood, where you see kind of someone who is engaged or is married getting involved with an onset kind of romance. They're forced into those scenes and feelings developed. Was that something that you just they came up with, or is it something that you took off of maybe real life stuff? Because it seems probably it's very common, and I think it was a good theme of those episodes, that the three that I watched. And I thought it was interesting dynamic. And kind of when you put yourself in their place, like that's got to be tough as an actor or an actress to be in those situations, right? Because I know as a man, you can't really fake it. I mean, obviously, Sierra, very good looking, and you're tasked. And now I'm talking within the show, right? Because like Switch and Knox was saying, it's the show within the show. So the one guy who was has feelings for her because they're set to play lovers in the show.
Mhm.
So, what are your thoughts on that? Like, how is that? Was that something, like I said, that you guys pulled from somewhere, or is it just part of the story? Because I feel like that happens probably a lot.
Believe it or not, a lot of what you see on screen is pulled from real life. Sometimes we crank the dial up a little bit, but even then, there's other times where we crank the dial down because it was just like too much. Some of the stuff you experience in Hollywood, being a production assistant, some of the stuff you see is literally that crazy. At least it was at a certain point in time. They've cracked down on it a lot, especially post Me Too movement. Um, but no, a lot of that stuff that was pulled from real life. Matt has probably the most production assistant experience, and a lot of those stories he had told me from working on shows like Burn Notice, which was filmed out in South Florida, Ballers with The Rock, and then he was a production assistant on one of the most recent Marlon Wayne shows before filming this. So a lot of those stories, believe it or not, are true. And we just kind of put it in a made up scenario. So yeah,
Yeah, and the intimacy coordinator had me cracking up. Are they really like that though?
not to the extent that we had it. We definitely did that for a little bit of comedic relief, but they are very intense. And to be honest, uh, those scenes were the hardest for me to direct because I don't know why. I obviously read it in the script before filming and I'd made shot lists, but I did not anticipate any of the actors or actresses to ask me how they want how I wanted them to be doing it. Which, like, when that's the first question you're asked first thing in the morning, and you've not had a cup of coffee yet, and you've just been talking to the camera crew on how you're going to film stuff, and then all of a sudden the actor's like, "Yeah, do you want her like legs over my shoulders or over the bed, or are we standing up?" I'm like, uh, I was just,
Let your freak flag
yeah,
fly,
I was like,
Devin. Let your
I was like,
freak flag fly.
why don't you show me how you think you should do it, and then I'll maneuver it from there. And yeah, so it was, yeah, that was probably one of the most awkward moments, to be honest, for me, because yeah, and it is a
That
touching
yeah.
thing. Like people are, basic, really close to being naked, and they're doing an intimate act, or acting out an intimate act, and um, it's my responsibility to kind of treat that uh, with like white gloves. Like, you just don't want to. You want everyone to feel safe and comfortable, and you don't want people to feel like they're being ogled or exposed in any way. So those were actually the hardest scenes for me to kind of shoot during the day.
Yeah, with the Me Too movement and everything, like there's been such a focus on intimacy coordinators. Like you really didn't hear about it before back in the 90s, early 2000s, the Hollywood, but now it's really taken foot. So I have also another question too that I was going to ask. When you guys were filming, um, there's different lights, I guess, ways there, like some of the scenes seem like a little bit more like yellow, some scenes seem a little bit more bright. Did you guys have a lot of issues when you were doing the lighting, and trying to get the perfect light? Because I can imagine that that's kind of a hard thing to do, especially trying to do it into 5 days.
Yeah, it was. Lighting setups were definitely probably where we had the least amount of time to control, and a lot of the times when it's different colors, we would just hope that it lined up with them maybe shooting a scene prior, or coming out of the soap opera. But yeah, I mean, that honestly, that's probably where we save the most amount of time, is just trying not to worry as much as that, and hoping that the content of the show would overreach the lack of lighting setups. We did try to do lighting setups most of the time, but just that it just takes up time, and I think they say in one of the post show interviews, we were shooting 24 pages a day, um, and it's almost a full episode a day, but we weren't shooting like when you're doing production. For those who don't know, it's very rare where you shoot scene one to the end in order. So there'd be times where we would shoot episode one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, all in that one location during that day, if we could. And that's why some of the lighting setups are different, because like, I can't even go back and tell you what day we filmed certain scenes, because we were just jumping all over the place. I have no idea how there's not more continuity errors. If I'm being completely honest, I just thought those would be riddled throughout the whole show.
You kind of get that feeling, Devin, when you're watching the show that I could see this having been a very tough show to shoot. Not only because of the time constraints, but it's kind of like mayhem almost. A lot is going on, so I could see, I could picture what you must have went through trying to get that done in such a short time. I do have one question and then another observation. The featured prop in episode two, the prosthetic, if you will.
Yeah.
Did they give that back to you afterward?
Yeah, I have that trophy. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I just want to make sure that they let you take that back home.
Yeah,
And
it's on the mantle.
all right, and then two more actors that I think really did. They were standouts to me. Were Kerry Johnson, who plays Wesley,
Hmm.
and Tucker Fortson that played Melvin. I thought delivered really good performances. These guys should be on the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Same. Tucker was one of my favorite actors to work with. That I had just like that was the first time that I had worked with him, was on Pay Up Hollywood, and he just knocked it out. Because a lot of those times when I was reading the jokes, I was like, man, how are they going to find someone to really deliver this with the amount of oomph it kind of needs to land? And he just didn't hold back, um, which was awesome, especially when some of those jokes are how to put this delicately, racially motivated, and a lot of the cast are black and other ethnicities, and like that's the first time he's meeting them all for the first time, and he's having to say some stuff that you just wouldn't expect someone to be able to say. But we had a really everyone had a really good relationship with everyone by the time we ended, just because it was controlled chaos. It was mayhem. Like any given day, like there's always 101 problems that show up on set. Like the first day we got there, um, none of the bathrooms were working. One of the actors was late, so we had to figure out how could we shoot scenes around this person, and so by the end of it, we had all kind of went through this battle together, and um, you never know if what you're shooting is going to be good when you're on production. It feels one way, and then you get into post and you don't know. But we there was just this little bit of like this little layer of magic where everyone was just enjoying themselves so much that we thought we had something special, regardless of all the constraints that we were up against.
So my question too, with the constraints and everything, was this all done in one building or was it done over multiple buildings? Because I did see that there was a lot of different set changes within there. So, and also with that being done wherever it was done, was that a really big expense, and was it a lot to block off those areas? Because I've worked in places where they've done movies before, and they literally just like block off the whole area and you're not allowed to go in there at all.
Yeah, so that was actually all shot in one soundstage. That's how we were able to accomplish so much in those 5 days. So it's awesome that it looks like we were shooting in multiple areas, but that was all basically everything except exterior scenes was all in one soundstage. And I think it's actually episode 4 or 5. There's a episode where I don't want to give it away, but um, we're doing an interview and they're in a director's chair and they get up and leave, and we actually you can see the sound stage's name on the director's chair, which I just noticed this watch through. Um, so yeah, everything was in one building, and they kind of we just it was one of the bigger expenses. I think it was like we were paying 2,500 a day for those 5 days. Um, but it was worth it just to have everything at our disposal because, like I said, we were bouncing around all the time.
Devin, when it's typically public information, I don't know if you're allowed to say or not, but what was your total budget to shoot this?
Yeah, it was so when we had signed on, we had originally had a distributor attached in the beginning named Black Oak TV. That relationship fell through because they had promised $50,000. We got $25,000 during production, and we were supposed to get the remaining $25,000 after delivery. The reason it's taken so long to release this project is because they never paid us that second half. So we did everything for the 25,000, but the original budget was supposed to be 50. Um,
You did this entire show with 25,000?
yep,
Holy crap. That
yeah,
I would have never guessed that little. Holy cow, man. Hats off. You did a lot with 25,000. Holy cow.
yeah. Thank
Uh,
you.
man, I would have been way off on my guess. I would have guessed like 250 to 3.
Yeah, I mean, I would, I'm super excited to eventually work with those kind of budgets because of how resourceful we've gotten over the years with these micro budgets. Just being able to take the time and God, even if I only had to shoot 12 pages a day, the difference that would have made in the show. But I think, that was all of our first times working officially together. I think it came out the way it did because of the chaos. To be honest, I think that kind of pushed us to land the jokes a little bit more, and there was a lot of working on our feet. Like I had created a whole shot list, but when everything changes on the day, that shot list kind of goes out the window, and I'm just like a lot of the time I'm just making all the choreography between the camera and the actors up in my head as we're shooting, um, which was really challenging, but fun at the same time. And then I don't know. I think one of the comments that I got often was they had no idea how I was able to keep a level head during production. They've A lot of people work with directors and they can get overwhelmed and they have an AD that's yelling at everyone, and we just never had that. It was kind of a calm within the storm. It was just like we gotta just focus on how to do this, and getting overexcited is not going to help anything. So
No,
uh,
that's amazing, man. And if you did it with that budget, we're all going to be waiting to see what you do with an even bigger budget. But we can't just glaze over the elephant in the room, Devin, because there was a lot of sexual tension, a lot of sex scenes. There was a lot of, a lot of that. And I think that that stuff, it's good to see it back. You know what I mean, Devin? It's been a while since we've had some good old fashioned sex scenes. How is that to be when they're doing that type of stuff and you see that going on as a director and for the actors? Is it a tough thing? Because, like Knox was bringing up, that was funny when the woman came in and she was all intense and you're saying, well, that's not how it is in real life. But, what is that like having everybody around and when they're getting intimate and they're doing that stuff and directing it? Take us through that because it was a big element of the first three episodes. And I think it kind of made it funny, right? Because that type of stuff, maybe because The Office was on, a major channel was lacking from that. But could you imagine if The Office had that?
Yeah. Um, to be honest, when the script allowed, we would clear out the room, and it would really only be me, the camera operators, the sound person, and the two actors. We would try to give them as much comfort as possible. But a lot of the times that wasn't the case because, like, even in that first scene, like the opening scene, they're being intimate, and then there's the whole cut sequence, and you see that everyone's on set. So just kind of talking it through, giving everyone body autonomy to be able to stop the scene at any time and be like, I'm not comfortable with this, or needing to adjust. In between takes, we would have a robe on standby so the actress or actor could cover up if they felt like they needed that. So it was just really kind of trying to create that environment where everyone felt safe to express themselves. But for the most part, everyone there was very mature about everything. No one felt uncomfortable, so that made it a little easier. And everyone had seen the scripts before, so they knew kind of what was expected. Like I said, I was probably the one most caught off guard because I didn't expect to have to answer certain questions about positions or emotional experience, like volume levels. Like she was like, "Do you want me to moan? How do you want me to moan? Is this like?" Yeah, those things. If anything, I think my awkwardness might have been felt on the camera. I think that's why everyone felt comfortable is because they were like, "Oh, he's not some creep weirdo about it. He's like just as uncomfortable with it as all of us." Um,
Just do what
so
you want.
yeah, I was like, "Well, what would you?" Well, no, actually, the what they did first, I had to stop because I was like, "That is not going to be able to be seen," because it just looked too real. um, which you wouldn't think is a problem, but when everyone's starting to blush, it kind of throws the scene off. So, um,
Did you blush,
Yeah.
Devin, or were you good?
oh, there's a couple scenes that I blushed in for sure, for sure. I mean,
So
honestly, if anything, I ended up breaking probably the most, and then as soon as they knew that they could break me, I feel like a lot of the actors would try to land jokes in a certain way to cause me to break. I would always be like, I probably looked like a tomato more than half the time because I'm literally holding my breath, pinching my nose as hard as I can to let the scene finish before I bust out laughing. Um, because a lot of the stuff that they did was improv, maybe not the lines, but the actions, and the character who probably is the most unhinged is Eddie Hall, who plays Billy. I never knew what he was going to do, and a lot of the times I would equate his character to kind of the lovable idiot. He kind of grows on you by the time you get to the end of the series, but I really had no idea what he was going to do or show up in, and as we're doing takes, I'm looking at the monitors and I'm trying to bounce and forth, back and forth between the two camera operators, and so some of the times I'm missing these little moments, and then we go for a take two, and then I notice Billy in the background doing something super obscene, and I was like, oh my god, what is this guy
so
doing?
so keeping along with the intimacy, I got two questions actually. Keeping along with the intimacy, the first question is going to be like, what was something that the actual Tubi said no to? Because I know that they did say yes to a lot of things that you didn't think they would, but they did. A, what was those things that they said that they were like, no, we can't do this. And then also to beginning with the original sex scene, when the actor forgot his lines and he shouted lines, is that something that actually happens?
That does actually happen. The shouting of lines. His delivery after he gets that line, probably probably not the best performance, but that's why it leads into the cut and then the unveiling of what the show actually is. Um, Tubi didn't say no to anything, and they actually said if we do collaborate on something else to kind of just go all out and write the most unhinged thing we can and see where it lands. So that I mean that's the ultimate goal is to be picked up for season two, to be like an actual Tubi production. Because right now Tubi is just they're signed on as our distributor, but there's interest to potentially take this to be a Tubi original, which would be awesome. And huge shout out to any of the Dojo dogs who have pressed play on it because we have reached the trending page so far, and this is our first week on there, so it means a tremendous. It means so much to me. The doors that this has the potential to open, either for me working more as a director or potentially collaborating with other studios or streaming services, it means a lot.
Yeah,
So,
I was
so
going to say that everyone in the room, if you could, if you don't already have Tubi, it's a free streaming service. Just download it. There's no credit card, nothing like that. You just, sign up and you can watch movies for free. At least add it to your watch list. Pay Up Hollywood is the name of the show, directed by Devin Teer. So just add it to your watch list because I imagine all those metrics make a difference.
yeah,
Like
it
it,
does.
click the check like you liked it, and watch the whole show through. Support Devin in this endeavor. This could open up a lot of doors for him. And he's already trending. And so if everyone just would just take the time to watch a free show, it could really help one of the Dogeable dogs who frankly does a lot for our community.
And
Oh,
don't forget to bookmark it too, right? Switch me as a bookmark and like. And listen, we would tell you, I enjoyed it. It was funny. It was kind of a throwback a little bit in a way with the humor and the sexual content, but it was actually good acting. I enjoyed the main actress and the main actor. I thought were very good. The storyline, it was very similar to kind of The Office in the way that it was filmed and some of the humor. So I thought it was really good. So shout out to you, Devin. Especially, it's kind of crazy that that's the budget that you had, and you only did it in 5 days. Crazy story. And yeah, like Switch said, go download Tubi. You can get it on anything, the Fire Stick, your Samsung, LG TV. Creating an account takes about 2 minutes with your email address, and then you just go find it, pay up Hollywood, like, bookmark it, and just watch it because it was good. I enjoyed it, and I actually said we said we're going to watch the first three, do an episode with Devin tonight, and then do another one next week in the second three episodes because there's 6 episodes. But I started watching into the fourth, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to confuse myself or bring stuff up, so I'm going to hold off. But I was into it. I wanted to see what was going to happen next, and it's always good when there's a storyline. Especially, listen, sex sells. So when you have kind of a love triangle, when you have that kind of stuff, it definitely piques interest. You want to see what happens next and what's going to happen in the next episode. So yeah, that stuff is like, always entertaining. And I enjoyed it, Devin. So shout out to you. I think it was great. And I hope that you guys stay trending and you can get some of the stuff maybe out on the timeline. And maybe we get Tubi in some of these spaces. I see the Knox, you
I
tagged
tagged
them.
him.
Yeah. So
I was
you
I
never
was
know.
looking for I was looking at all the actors. I was trying to find their X profiles, and found, I think it's Sierra's, but it hasn't been accessed since 2023 because I was really wanting one of them to like kind of pull up and kind of get their point of view on it
So if
too.
we if we're going to do something next week, actually I was talking to Matt today, and both of them would be interested in coming in and potentially coming up and speak if you guys would be open to that. Yeah,
A
they
100%, man. I did
we
the
could
same
definitely do
thing. I
that.
could only find their Instagrams. A lot of them, Sierra, a couple of the other actors and actresses. I couldn't find anything really on X, but Instagram, they have accounts. So yeah, to get them up here and just to hear their experience working with you, what they thought, and how they handled kind of doing a production in a short time. And it's funny, Devin, we've talked about the show Entourage from back in the day, which now is still getting a lot of plays because of HBO Max. People are watching the old shows like The Wire, Sopranos, and and Entourage, because they don't make shows like that anymore. And it's kind
Mhm.
of what you're talking about with the directors. It almost reminds you of some of those episodes, right? Where you got to see someone like myself and Knox and Switch who aren't in the industry. That show gave you like a behind the scenes look. And the only reason I kind of know what you're talking about is basically from that show, right? That
Yeah.
kind of gave you the insight looking behind it. So yeah, it would be awesome to be able to talk to them and see what they think about the Tubi. Obviously it's kind of becoming a big thing. They got the World Cup on that application, which is cool. I think it's awesome for a lot of people that don't maybe have the money or don't want to pay for things. Tubi's a free streaming app. How it was working with you, where their careers are going, I think that would be amazing, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Yeah, there's a lot of hopes that I have for where this could go. It's sometimes it's hard to watch your work back, and because you just start critiquing it and wishing you had more time and more budget to do certain things. So the fact that anyone's pressed played and liked it, like I can't express enough how much I appreciate it and how much it means to me. You know, I know we didn't have all the money in the world to put this together, and I noticed the lighting differences. I noticed the audio differences. Russ pointed out to me that there are currently no subtitles, so I did get in contact with Matt and Sierra to fix that, so we will get subtitles on there. Um, but yeah, anyone's opinion about it, good, bad, whatever, like I would love to hear it because it's how I can improve. I have my ideas on what I could do differently, but it's always refreshing to hear from an audience that's not my mom and dad or siblings or friends from high school that just when I tell them I'm doing film, they still kind of roll their eyes because they're like, will it ever really work? Will you get to that destination? And so it means a lot, especially people in this community. It's been very impactful. It's been a very emotional couple of days, just for me, just because this is kind of the first time I'm getting real feedback from real people about any of the work I've done. So it really it matters and it has a great impact on me. So
I
um,
appreciate that, man. And yeah, I think it's amazing. I think sometimes when this is different than just a regular community with a bunch of internet friends, right? Like we met in Miami, and I guess we're trauma bonded after the breakfast where we were we were screamed at by
not
the
gonna lie, if we do
waitresses.
season two, I think there's got to be a scene at Bacon Bitch because
Bacon bits.
I can only imagine how they handle that.
I
That
was
was
gonna also
hysterical.
ask too, like, if you guys do get a season two, are you thinking about pulling any, like, who would you want to pull in and everything? Because, like, I was looking at the office aspect of it, and it just reminded me of the skit that Jay Renshaw does. I don't know if you've seen,
Yeah.
like, if you guys could get shit on there in an awkward position, that would be hilarious.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ideas. It comes down to like what sort of things come down the pipeline once we have these conversations. Like I think this is only the first week that it's been available on Tubi, so there's still a long way to go. But hopefully we can start having these conversations relatively soon. And yeah, I would love to pull people not just from like Jay Renshaw and everything that they're doing, but providing opportunities for anyone in the community who might want to take a crack at being on camera or helping out on set. There's a lot that we could do with it. We could put them on like these characters. We could put them in a different production in a completely different place. We don't have to stick to LA or with the darkest hour. So there's a lot of opportunities. I don't want to say how we ended the show. I don't know who's finishing it or not, but it's definitely left at a point where it could just be a one-off or personally, I think it would be amazing to do a couple other seasons, not just the second one. We do have outlines for where this could go, and that would be amazing.
Devin, is season two already largely written? Would you say?
Yeah, like all the episodes for season two are outlined. So it's kind of just a fill in the blank from that point. Like a lot of the scenes are kind of already mapped out. I don't want to give too much. It's hard to talk about because people haven't finished the first season. But there definitely is. There's a through line that goes throughout of it. But we also left it open enough to like if Tubi does want to partner with us because they are putting a lot of money into Tubi originals now. We had to keep it kind of pliable enough to adapt to anything that they may ask of us because they may pick a location for us to film. They might not want to do it in LA because it's very expensive to film out there. Louisiana actually has a really good tax incentive. Missouri does. Florida now does. Georgia and Ohio. So we'll see what they say. Um,
Yeah, because like I was thinking of Florida because I mean, there's already so many studios down there, and you're moving down there and everything. So they do have a lot with all the organizations that are already down there. But yeah, the second season, I mean, you're seeing right now that it's people are liking it. And I mean, I think that it does as an original series, like even though it does pull on the aspect of, more popular series, just the I don't know, the culture around the series that has been created and with the actors and everything, it's an older idea, but it's freshly done and it's added new aspects and new questioning for people, especially now that there's so much competition between, Netflix and then traditional ABC, type Johns. But yeah, it's really interesting. And I think that it's what people have wanted. And I think that, you're seeing that people did like it. So once they pick it up, I could really see it being a great thing. And I think Tubi will pick it up. Not gonna lie, because you're seeing just after 1 week, and you had 5 days and $25,000 to film this, and it's already so liked. Just imagine if you actually had time to stretch it out further and get those things that you wanted to go through, and maybe film 8 hours a day, be a little bit more intimate with the project itself. I think that it's gonna be really great.
no, I really appreciate that. To be honest, the biggest thing that a larger budget and more time would allow us to do is kind of separate when we're filming the soap opera or whatever show they're working on and the behind the scenes of it, just so we can give that the soap opera a real feel and be able to amplify the humor that unfolds after cut is yelled on that and the action for the show starts. Um, yeah, it would be amazing. I think Florida is definitely very viable. Matt actually lives in Florida. He's down in Fort Lauderdale, so um, there's a lot of chances that we end up doing something down there.
Devin, do you know who Joe Pira is? He had a show on Adult Swim.
Which show? It sounds familiar, but I
It's
can't.
like it's called Joe Pera, Pera. It's hilarious. He plays a very straight Wisconsinner, very boring, very white bread, but the show is hilarious. I would say all of the characters in the show are rather eccentric. You know,
Hmm.
maybe having a more just straight boring character would be beneficial. But I was just Joe Pira popped in my head when you guys were talking about Jay Renshaw. The opposite of that. Joe Pira is you should check him out. I think those shows might be on HBO, but
I'm
it's
going to.
actually super entertaining.
There's some
He
on
just
YouTube.
Joe Pira, yeah, I guess some of his would be on
Is it
YouTube.
a
Yeah.
cartoon type
No,
thing?
no,
Oh, okay, because there
no.
was one cartoon. Is it
He
Pera?
does have a cartoon, but it's this the one I'm referring to is a real life show.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but it's definitely he's people get addicted when they watch it. But you probably couldn't write in a new character at this juncture if you already have you know uh, the broad strokes of a second season. It was just a suggestion.
No, I mean, if we do get picked up for a second season, we are planning to probably add more characters. It really just depends on what the funding for the second season looks like. If I'm being completely honest, because the reason we did certain things is the restraints of budget. Um, that kind a lot of the times that'll dictate what we're able to put on screen, and um, a lot of the actors did it very inexpensively for like pennies on the day, to be honest. And that's just because they wanted to work with us and they liked the writing, and that's how we were able to get it done for that funding level. But no, we were very open to adding characters and changing a lot of what the beats of a season 2 would be. Yes, I next week when you guys finish the show, we can kind of go into, because you'll see more of how it ends and how it would be possible to bring characters back or even change some of the characters if we decided to, and still how to incorporate the people that were involved that want to remain involved.
I
So
did watch all 6 episodes, and I won't give anything away, but one thing I really did like was the surprise that you find out in the hospital.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure that you visit us on alpharoom.net. Also, please follow us on all major platforms.